Today, we mix it up with a backwards body count. Hello and welcome to Body Count, the podcast where we believe history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. I'm your host, Jessica Manor, and I'm joined today by
Bethany Skelton. Hello.
It's been so long, but we're together again,
been
reunited, and it feels so good.
So good.
Woo! Now, you guys know we are done with explanations of any sort, disclaimers officially, but we ask that if you do love the show, please subscribe. That's very, very important. Rate and review us wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. It's so important for us on the business end. It's not really about our vanity. We don't hate it either, though. Honestly, it really is all about the business. So hit those 5 stars and you can say whatever the hell you want in the review as long as you give us those 5 stars. Also, please check out our Patreon. For $1 a month, you get complete access to everything we're putting out there. It's super cheap. We've had a lot of requests that it's known that we do edit. We edit a lot of the ridiculous things that we say out of here. What we don't do is edit of any kind on Patreon. So we Mystery Science Theater style a bunch of historical dramas, and we began with The Crown. So, another disclaimer, not so much disclaimer, but let's go ahead and put it out there that when it gets heavy here in the podcast, you can absolutely head over to Patreon and get some real laughs. So we're kicked back on our various couches and about to break down some seriously disturbing history. Only rule when we choose a subject to discuss, someone or a lot of someone's, as is usually the case, die. How pleasant.
Bum, bum.
Wait a minute. I gotta stop this. Bethany, why am I even doing this bullshit this week? Because we're doing something different today, as Bethany is actually going to be our host, ladies and gents. That's right. Bethany will be telling me a story from history today. We're going to break, and that is simply because after the Genghis Khan series, I've been lying in bed like Cameron from Ferris Bueller for a solid week. Just being psychotic. So you know what? I'm not hosting a damn thing from this point forward. Bethany, this is your day.
Well, I'm actually super excited to do this episode with you because of the simple fact that I get to tell you about the shit that I learned. That, like, seriously never freaking happens. Usually it's like, Jessica, what does this mean? Or how about the conversation? Like, seriously, okay. Just earlier today when you were talking about philosophical, oh my God.
Philosophical.
Thank you. And I said, could you explain what you just said in, like, my language? And you were like, no, actually I cannot. That's the whole point. I'm like, fuck. I really, like, seriously rely on you to give me, like, the historical facts on whatever subject we are discussing. You're, like, seriously my human history book. Remember I said, if I was on a Survivor show, if I could take 3 things, I would just take you. I wouldn't need 3 things. I would have a Jessica.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I have excellent survival skills, multiple wilderness skills. What can I say? I did grow up in the great state of Texas. I've read all the literary classics, and you know what? I could probably recount completely Harry Potter from memory, A Song of Ice and Fire. There are a number of really great sci-fi works and fantasy works that I could probably put out there for you. If nothing else, I am more entertaining than Wilson the volleyball. I feel it very
exactly.
least.
Yeah, so if I could take, you would be my one and only choice for a Survivor item. So You are my item. I would take.
Oh, I could crack a few coconuts.
Yes, you could. Okay, so anyways, you had me come up with the topic that we could discuss on this podcast, and one day I was watching. I was inspired by the movie Evan Almighty. You've seen that, right?
I have seen it with very little attention paid to it, if that makes sense. I am aware that there is a Noah-esque theme and a flood,
Yes.
if you will.
Well, see, and me personally, if you haven't seen it, I love Steve Carell. Like, I think he's fucking hilarious. And there, of course, is a good moral message and, a valuable lesson to be learned, which is actually does come.
Spare us, moral oral.
Okay, but what actually, I know, but I mean, it's a good family film, okay, for the kiddos, okay?
Yeah.
And so, in the movie, there's actually, he thinks there's gonna, God comes and there's gonna be a flood, blah, blah. Well, what happens is actually it's just enough rain that the dam where his new multi-million-dollar house has just been built and others with it, the dam breaks and it floods his area. And you find out why the dam breaks, which is interesting because we find out this is actually our topic of discussion. This was inspired by all of it. Yes. So after some research, I was like, I wanted to know about how dams, luckily in this movie, of course, because, it's a kid family friendly movie, nobody died. Okay. Everybody quickly got on the ark that he crazily built and, saved the day. So I did some digging.
We're here to piss on everybody's false reality. I love that.
Yes.
Sorry, my phone's ringing, everybody. I apologize.
Dude,
That's real life moment.
Mm-hmm. We are human.
I'm going to silence my phone. Oh, it's my dad.
He'd be so weird. We were talking about him before we started recording.
Well, he is quite a piece of work. So,
Oh,
I come by it honest, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Thank you. So anyway, after some research, I found that the Johnstown flood is remembered and known as the worst disaster by dam failure in American history. In fact, it was the greatest single day civilian loss of life in this country before, get this, September 11th, 2001. And we all remember what happened.
Oh, wow. So it trumps Pearl Harbor. That is quite a feat.
Pearl Harbor. And it also then, it wasn't beat out until 9/11, which is insane.
Wow, that is insane.
I know. And not only that, but this particular flood, that we'll get into, this was also the biggest news story of the era. And of course, the biggest scandal. And this is mainly due to the many really famous industrialists of the day were members of the club, and they owned the dam. So now, before I get into this story, I was really hoping you could give everybody your Jessica, brain, and kind of just tell me, us, could tell all of us, what does a dam, what does it really do? What is what is the main purpose of even having a dam?
See, I knew my brain wasn't going to get a vacation.
It's just a summary of why we build a dam in the first place.
Why we build a dam in the first place. Well, there are a number of reasons that one may want to construct a dam, if it were. If you've got a water source, let's say, I'd say the first and most important reason that people generally build dams is to build that dam, collect water in an area, and then it can be distributed as needed to surrounding towns and civilizations that develop around this area. Other reasons may be that you have an area that is particularly prone to flooding, but it may therefore yield particularly fertile farmland, fertile growth land. In that case, you're going to have a dam, you're going to have sluice gates, you're going to have, essentially, I'm trying to think of the word for it. Not
Control.
yes and no,
You
but
essentially have
basically
control of the water.
it's going to allow you to control flooding within an area. Basically, you're going to allow something out of a spillway, out of sluice gates, out of flood zones in a controlled environment versus a widespread flood, let's say in a monsoonal area. And also, you can build a dam because it may just be that there are resources to be had, to be mined, whatever the circumstance may be, that are currently underwater. You can build a dam and you can open that up for economic reasons. So there are a number of reasons that people do build dams. The first one that I mentioned being the most common for equitable distribution of fresh drinking water, irrigation water, whatever the situation may be.
Okay, so it kind of reminds me of that movie Madagascar. One of them, Escaped Africa or Escape from Africa or whatever it is. I can't remember which one.
Oh,
as you can tell, I have kids.
You brought us back up after I science jizzed all over our brains as per usual. After I brought the mood down with facts.
No, I didn't bring the mood down. You gave me you know me, I try to find like something that I can relate it to in my life. And so I just used the Madagascar movie really because in one of the movies they're trying to get out of Africa. So the penguins are rebuilding the plane. They steal the bus or the caravan or whatever of like where people are touring Africa. And so then of course they're stranded in Africa. So then these people follow the old lady who hits Alex with the purse. And she's like, follow me.
For people who have not seen Madagascar.
Sorry. Anyway, to survive, they build a dam but they do deplete the water supply from the watering hole for the animals. But yeah, I get the picture. Like you block off the source of water so you can collect it and then disperse it how you want to. So yes. I totally get it. No, I'm with you. I totally understand what you were saying in your history jizz.
My history brain jizz. Hey, facts. Jessica's here to bring you down with some of those.
Exactly. Okay, so to go on to the story here that I actually have several sources I used for this. Go me.
Wait, I'm going to stop everybody. I do not know anything outside this story other than there were floods in 1889 and 1977. Apparently, there's been another one. That is all Bethany has told me. I have no idea. I have no historical frame of reference for this story. So I am actually learning real time along with all of you.
I'm so excited. It never happened. Sorry, I had to get that out. Okay, so my sources, Jessica, come from the Johnstown Area Heritage Association.
Oh, well.
The Johnstown Flood Museum. They have a whole website dedicated to the Johnstown flood. In fact, you can even donate to the relief campaign and to help rebuilding the town.
Please do.
Also, David McCullough. Oh, my God. You know me and names.
What is it, David McCullough?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Author of the Johnstown Flood.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it. David McCullough. There we go.
Okay. I'm glad you are because this is why I suck at names. I suck at pronouncing. Okay. He's the writer, the author of the Johnstown Flood, and then Edwin Hutchison, Floods of Johnstown, 1889, 1936. 1977. And I've also read through survivor stories from all sorts of people in each of the floods.
I have to stop you right there. Do you hear that, audience? It's a round of applause. Bethany has sourced this as well as I would source it myself. I've never been so proud in all my life.
Oh my God. I'm like, don't even cry. You were just like boosting my confidence today, and I fucking love it.
I'm here
Take that.
for it. I'm here for it. I already stole your meme today on Twitter. I feel like I really
know.
must contribute in some way.
No, I wouldn't send you memes if I didn't want you to use them.
But seriously, excellent sourcing. I am already in
Thank
for
you.
this.
Okay, cool. All right, so here we go. So this next piece of information that I'm pulling from is actually from Edwin Hutchinson's Floods of Johnstown. He talks about how this particular town was built into a river valley on the Appalachian Plateau. It's called it's the Little Conemaugh. Am I saying that right? Conemaugh.
I believe
Mouth?
so.
Conemaugh. Conemaugh?
Conemaugh.
See, I was Conemaugh. I'm not sure.
I don't
but
know. I mean, it sounds like something straight from the movie Deliverance. So let's just, sure, why not?
Sure. Okay. So the Little Conemaugh and the Stony Creek rivers, they ran along the peripheral of the town, and they merged to form the Conemaugh River, and that was at the western end.
Okay.
And in a drained 657 square mile watershed, which dropped in the rivers from mountains 500 feet above.
Damn.
Okay. So at least once a year, one or both of the rivers, the Little Conemaugh River and the Stony Creek River, they would overflow into the streets, and all the town residents would hurry to protect what they could in their homes and all that stuff. Many of these floods were caused when heavy snows melted too quickly in the spring, which we will talk about later on. And others at any season of the year when heavy rain would just fall over the area, which is also very important to remember. So whichever it was, the floods were in fact obviously once a year. These people that lived in the 19th century in this industrial community in Pennsylvania, they knew that it was coming. So, it happens. So in late afternoon, May 31st, 1889, people had already gathered up their stuff. They were already up on the upper floors, and they were waiting it out. They had done their whole fucking life every year. So, they were ready to just, wait it out and prepare. So as they were sitting there and waiting it out, people up at the South Fork Dam, which is just 14 miles above Johnstown, they were freaking out. Okay. So the South Fork Dam held back Lake Conemaugh.
Whatever it is.
Okay. Whatever it is. So this lake was actually, they used it for pleasure people. It was a source of vacation, and it was used for the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club. And it's a prestigious club which included people that you would recognize: Andrew Carnegie.
Oh, wonderful.
And Henry Clay Frick. So they were members. So officials there, they feared that the dam would fail. Okay, so since mid-morning, they'd work to avoid this because they feared the consequences. You fucking think? You fucking think?
Here's my initial thought process on that. If once a year you're having to go to the top goddamn story of your house, I'm sorry, I shouldn't use GD. If you're having to go to the top story of your house to avoid what you know is a coming flood, regardless, build a better dam. Do some legwork. You've got Andrew Carnegie and Henry Clay Frick that are hunting club members nearby. Nobody says, you know what? I think we can use a little of that American ingenuity and know-how to improve this. No, that never occurs to anyone, ever. Mm-mm. At this point in the story. I love that. That's just my favorite. That's my favorite thing when I hear those things from history. Absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, you're going to be prepared to get pissed off even more. I cannot wait for you to.
Oh, goody. Goody. Because that's my favorite.
It's great. Okay. So the lake itself.
I think it's Conemaugh. Conemaugh. If I have to take my guess. Conemaugh.
Okay. The Conemaugh Lake was a little over 2 miles long, a little over a mile wide at its widest spot, and 60 feet deep at the dam itself. So among the attempts were efforts to add height to the dam and then to dig a second spillway to relieve pressure from the breast. And finally, to release the heavy screens placed on the overflows to keep the stocked fish from escaping into the streams below. So by a little after 3 p.m., when most people in Johnstown were like settling down, for the evening, the club officials and laborers, they recruited as well as a good sized audience from a little community of South Fork just below the dam. They literally watched in like complete dumbfounded horror as the dam just moved away.
Oh, good.
Like just and that is actually in
there
quotes.
At the safe spot there, though. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. And they're actually they are, oh my, I'm not even joking. These are direct quotes from the book. It says it literally just moved away.
Dear God.
And they said within the hour, a body of water, which the engineers at the time estimated moved into the valley with the force of Niagara Falls.
Oh my God.
Rolled into Johnstown with 14 miles of accumulated debris, which included houses, barns, animals, and people, dead and alive. I mean, those who saw it coming described it as like a rolling hill of debris about 40 feet high and a half a mile wide. But mostly they just heard the huge thunderous rumble as it just like swept into the city, and it added Johnstown to a wake that like already included bits and pieces of the communities of South Fork, Mineral Point, Wood Valve, and East Conemaugh, which, Jessica, can you even imagine? Like, it's one thing to watch the water around you just slowly or even rapidly like rise, but to see this enormous tidal wave of debris and water hurtling towards you. I mean, shit, girl, I would have shit my fucking pants. I would have been like, God, please forgive me of my sins. And then just hoped I made it out alive. And if I didn't, God, please take me and let me, I'm at your will. Like, fuck this.
Can I just say, for years, people managed to keep Michael Jackson's abuse of children at bay, but they can't build a stronger dam. I'm just saying. You've got a terrifying human being with their nose falling off, preying on small children, and a team of lawyers can manage to build a dam around that. But Andrew Carnegie and his hunting club can't scrape together the dough to keep a dam from literally moving away.
Yeah, it literally just moved away and just so unbelievable. And the thing is like some people, they just tried to continuate the disaster in their homes. Others were just simply picked up by this flood wave, and they were taken for a wild ride through the town all the way to the Pennsylvania Railroad Company's Stone Bridge, where debris just like got caught and piled 40 feet high, and it spanned over 30 acres. Then you know what happened? It caught fucking fire.
Oh, well, of course it did.
Right?
What do you need more than a flood than a good fire? What is this? Cleveland rivers are catching on fire?
Right. And so, I mean, and if you didn't get stuck at the fiery pit of death, others were shot down the Conemaugh River to either die or be rescued at, the Navarre Boulevard or the other communities downstream. Okay, now I will tell you that apparently in this book, this particular story...
Is it about to get dark AF? Like...
Okay, a little bit. Okay.
Let me, prep myself. All right.
Okay. Now, then fine, I will give you a heads up that the book does say that there's the newspaper that printed this story that I'm about to tell you about does have a history of exaggerating the truth to an extent. Okay. But either way, the story is incredibly touching, and you'll see why it was so actually incredibly important that this newspaper printed it. Okay. So the story tells of this young girl, 6-year-old Gertrude Quinn Slattery. Okay.
What a name, man. Like, of course.
I know.
Of course.
So, right. She later described the event, and what she says is that she had ended up being carried away and stuck in what she called a, quote, raft with a muddy mattress and bedding. Okay. And so she basically is floating down to her death on a muddy mattress. Okay.
Oh, wonderful.
The story, I know. So the story she tells in this book, I mean, I cried. Okay. Because she said, I fucking cried. Okay. She said that she watched a rooftop full of people floating by, and she screamed and yelled and pleaded for help, and they were screaming back at her, but there was literally, and she understood, because there was literally nothing that they could do. They were literally hanging on and floating towards their own death.
God,
they were like, ugh. Yeah. So of course no one could help. So then she was like, after some time, finally there was a group of people on a stationary object, and it looked like this man, who we find out his name is Maxwell McArkren. She described that it looked like the people were helping him out, but when she had gotten closer, they were actually trying to hold him back, and he was fighting them off because he decided he was going to jump in to the current. She said he would go underwater for what felt like an eternity. And every time he came up, he was getting closer and closer to her. So he's swimming through this insane amount of water and debris underwater, and he finally makes it to her. He then, she says that she grabs a hold of his neck, and he's able to grab a hold of her. And as they're trying to make it back to land, but of course, when you're carrying another body, that's like impossible. So as they are drifted downstream, people on the edge further down had managed to grab poles, and they were like holding out poles, like trying to save people that were floating by. And so she says, but she was too far out. So this is actually the conversation that is printed from the book, or, from the newspaper. It says, quote, "At the window were two men with poles helping to rescue people floating by. I was too far out for the poles. So the men called, 'Throw that baby over here to us.' My hero said, 'Do you think you can catch her?' They said, 'We can try.' So this man, Maxwell, threw her, and she was saved while he drifted down and out of sight."
Oh, shit. Now I feel bad about my...
He sacrificed himself for that child.
True American, sir. Like, high
he saw
five.
Her, and he decided, I know everything, this could risk my life, but hers is more important.
Oh my God. I should have made a list of random happy facts that we could read after that kind of shit right there to bring everybody up. Man, that is... Bethany, congratulations. You've reached a point more depressing than I try to dig into myself.
Well, and you know what though? Guess what, Jessica? I know that it got really sad, but I do have some happy stuff, okay? Because after this story broke, and you can see why it was so easy for people to lay down whatever they were doing and just be good people and help out. Okay, so the news broke out and many people rushed in, and this includes Clara Barton. Okay,
yes,
so
ma'am.
She came in. She's actually and you clearly know who Clara Barton is. She helped organize the American Red Cross back in 1881. So they arrived.
The shit.
Yeah, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Kind of the shit. After what I read that she did for this particular town, I think she is the hero. She is our true hero of this story. Okay, she came in.
Heroes of the story.
Fuck. Okay, so seriously, she was amazing. She arrived into Johnstown on June 5th, so not even 5 days later. Yeah. She is there to help with the aid of the disaster, and this would actually be the first major peacetime disaster relief effort for the Red Cross.
Oh, snaps, folks.
Snaps for Clara Barton. Okay. She and her team helped with not only the emotional support of this, but she helped build tents, hotels. She helped people get into housing that had literally had nothing left. In fact, people would go back like later on would go back and be like, there's no way anybody could have recovered this. And she freaking did it.
That's
Clara
my
Barton
girl.
is the best, man. She's the coolest person in this story. Like, I freaking love her. Okay. So, but, and not only that, but by July 1st, so like not even a month later, they had managed to help businesses reopen and clean up a town that looked like to literally be unsalvageable.
This is why, again, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love in a pinch. You can bitch about whatever it is in America all you want, but in a pinch, sometimes it is wonderful to be an American. By July 1st, holy hell, like that's an incredible recovery time.
Incredible. Yeah. So I do have some very, to kind of paint you a picture of what they had to do, though.
Oh, great. Well, it wouldn't be our show if we didn't.
I know. Okay. So we've talked about this, like this happened with, I think, Guadalajara. Okay. So the dead.
I know it's
since there was, since so many people who had died, they lined them up in morgues throughout the city and the communities further down the Conemaugh River. Until, of course, some survivor in search of a loved one came to be like, that's my mom, and so although damaged itself, the Presbyterian Church on Main Street, which actually took a pretty hard hit, was the site of one of the morgues. And a reporter from the New York Post, this is how he described the scene. The first floor has been washed out completely, and the second, while submerged, was badly damaged but not ruined. The walls, floors, and pews were drenched, and the mud had collected on the mattings of carpets an inch deep. Walking is attended with much difficulty, and the undertakers and attendants, with arms bared, slide about the slippery surface at a tremendous rate. The chancel is filled with coffins, strips of muslin, boards, and all undertakings accessories. Lying across the top of the pews are a dozen pine boxes, each containing a victim of the flood. Printed cards are tacked to each. Upon them, the sex and full description of the enclosed body is written with the name of the known.
Ah, shit. That's like a game of Guess Who you never want to play.
Yeah. Do you know this person? Do you know who this person might be?
Do they have glasses? Is their hair red? Oh, like that is the worst game of Guess Who ever.
Yeah.
That's horrific.
Right.
Oh, so, man, that's rough.
Like, it makes you, like, be like, okay, like, what the, now that we've discussed, like, all this death and the sadness, I want to know what the fuck happened.
Well, I do too, Bethany, because, accountability is my favorite part of the show we do here.
Like, seriously, like, what the fuck happened? Like, the people, we've already figured out that this is something that the people just kind of like, rolled with every year, like a little flooding, rain, melting snow, big deal. So why this tidal wave of fucking water?
Like, why this time, this place do we have this occurring? Yeah.
So the true name of Lake Conemaugh is actually the Western Reservoir. Okay, so the name had been later changed. And its original construction was, of course, not for recreational use, but to provide water for the section of Pennsylvania Canal between Johnstown and Pittsburgh. Makes sense, right?
Yes, that does. 110.
Yeah, since it's the number one reason why we build a dam.
Yes. Oh, I love when we bring knowledge. The more you know. The more you suffer.
Yeah, pretty much. So, however, after the canal system was built, almost immediately after, it became obsolete. The reservoir was completed in 1852. And
goody.
Because they were like, oh, we don't need it. Very little maintenance was actually done and performed on the dam. And it actually broke once 10 years later in 1862, but the break caused very little damage and it was only half full. So, not a big deal. Okay.
At this time.
at this time. All right, so fun fact. It's fun fact, and this is number one fun fact in this. Okay, the one owner removed the drainage pipes beneath the dam to sell them for scrap. This means that there was absolutely no way to drain the reservoir for
There's no
repairs.
spillway.
Okay, so then the ownership of the dam passed through different hands before finally settling with the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club in 1879. And as I mentioned before, we have some very well-known industrialists, Andrew Carnegie, Henry Clay Frick, Andrew Mellon, and Philander Knox.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What a fun group that is in American history.
Yes. So I thought you of all people would truly enjoy those names. So, and really the whole purpose of the club was to provide, the members and their families an opportunity to, quote, get away from the noise, the heat, and the dirt of Pittsburgh. Basically, your good old-fashioned country club.
Oh, yeah, because how fucking tough your life must be when you're Carnegie or Mellon. How fucking hard it must be to live among the rest of the poors in Pittsburgh. So now you're going to come here and you're not going to keep up a dam that you're just vacating on. Because, again, you don't care about the poors underneath you. I'm telling you, if you don't think there's a 1% aristocracy back channeling doesn't give a shit about you, America, you're out of your freaking mind. Now I'm good. I'm pissed. I'm ready to go, Bethany. Now I'm wound the fuck up. Now I'm angry. I'm angry.
Good, because you're going to get even more angry. I love this. This is awesome. Okay, so the club itself not only owned the Western Reservoir, or, Lake Conemaugh, the dam that created it, and about 160 acres of land in the area.
No doubt it was above the flood zone.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, of course, so then there was also, they described that there's a 47-room clubhouse with a huge dining room that could seat like 150 people. And then there was 16 privately owned cottages, which were basically like huge fucking houses along the lake's shore. So like big ass fucking lake houses. Okay. And the club, of course, had a boat fleet, which included a pair of steam yachts and many sailboats and canoes and boat houses to store them in. And they had annual regattas and theatricals and musical performances, to entertain them.
Good. So it's basically where they go to play like Eyes Wide Shut together. Okay. Fine.
Yes.
Like I'm getting a picture. Okay. Great.
Yes.
Great. I love these kind of stories. Wonderful. I feel so good about it.
Great. Okay. So now give the club some credit because they did engage in periodic maintenance of the dam. But of course, they were very dumb and harmful modifications to this dam. And what did they do? They installed fish screens across the spillway to keep the expensive game fish from escaping, which then, of course, caused debris to get caught up and then kept the spillway from draining the lake's overflow.
Oh, good. So they're basically Prince fucking Charles. Wonderful. Wonderful. Excellent.
They also lowered the dam by a few feet in order to make it possible for two carriages to pass at the same time. So the dam was now only about 4 feet higher than the spillway.
Oh, well,
And to make matters even worse, of course, the club never reinstalled the drainage pipes so that the reservoir could be drained. So you factor all that in with heavy rain and melting snow, and boom, it just moves away.
Oh, well, because the people below, they simply cannot matter. They'll get in the way of the annual regatta, dear. Oh, they can't possibly matter. All they do is provide our food. I'm sure that like a couple of unlucky ones were probably kidnapped and used for like hunting trips so that they could have the thrill of hunting humans as well. Oh my God, I hate these people. Just Oh, go on before I get in a rage.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you know who these people are. It's pretty intense.
I know who these people are, and I know just how little concern they had for anybody that wasn't filthy rich, because I have a million stories about these particular people, and of course, they're attached to this. Why wouldn't they be? Ugh.
Of course. So, are you ready? I get to do this part. This is so much fun. Okay.
Are you about to give me a body count?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
The body count. Dun, dun, dun. I'm so excited. Here is the body count of the Johnstown flood of 1889. 2,209 people, they believe, died from this disaster. 99 entire families gone, including 396 children. 124 women and 198 men left as widows.
God.
More than, and I'm going to repeat, more than 750 bodies were never identified. They were buried in a Grandview Cemetery in unmarked graves. Bodies were being discovered as far as Cincinnati, all the way up to the year 1911.
Oh my God.
So
that's probably not even close to an accurate body count. All said and done.
That's why I put they believe. This is not an actual, this is the number they have down in their historical books, but they do make it clear that this is just an estimated number.
Jeez.
So, about 1,600 homes were destroyed, $17 million in property damage, 4 square miles of the downtown completely just leveled, destroyed. And I know I talked about it before with the Niagara Falls, but it said that the dam had 10 million tons of water before the breakage. It is the same amount of water that goes over Niagara Falls in just 36 minutes.
Holy shit.
It went really fucking fast.
Yeah. It's almost like the Lahar flows from St. Helens, man. Yeah. That is, dear God.
The only difference is that the lava did not go up to as high as 89 feet above the river level, like it did that's where they found, that's where some of the flood lines were found, as high as 89 feet above the river level.
So this was like a tsunami.
Yeah, it really was, because the wave was measured to be about, 35 to 40 feet high and hit Johnstown going about 40 miles per hour.
God.
That particular force swept several locomotives weighing in at 170,000 pounds and threw it as far as close to 5,000 feet.
My God. So it's basically a tsunami.
It's basically a tsunami. Like that, literally a man-made tsunami. Yeah. Now, it did report in the sources that I found that they did raise $3,742,818.78 for the Johnstown relief effort from with the U.S. and 18 foreign countries that stepped up to help. So I thought this was a big deal for being at 1889, and they raised that much money.
Well, this is before we all decided to go to war with each other. Quite a few years, actually. Right. So that's fun. It's good to know we all got along at one time. But still, if you compare that to the 17 million in damage, it's non-comparable. You know what I'm saying? That's great. I'm sure it helped a lot of people get back on their feet, but insurance wasn't necessarily a super widespread. And if it was, it had a tendency to be skeevy at this time. So it's
just wait, we'll get there.
Oh,
yeah, we're gonna get there.
Oh, yay!
Yeah. Okay, so the media took this tragedy and they, of course, found the person to blame, which was the South Fork Hunting and Fishing Club, and they really exaggerated the story.
Well, of course. But
Yeah.
I will say it was a tendency of most newspapers at the time. That is just that muckraking reporting was very prevalent at the time. So I'm
Well,
not surprised by that.
Right. There is a picture that was drawn. It was actually a cartoon drawn in one of the newspapers that caught a lot of attention. And it was all the club members at the top of the dam fishing off of it with their poles and their beers, laughing, looking down upon Johnstown. And in the dam itself, it's spurting out. Of course, you can see that it's leaking.
That's funny.
Yeah,
well,
it
it's
was pretty
funny because
controversial.
it's true.
It's true. I mean, let's be honest. They may exaggerate, but they're not too far from the truth. If it makes you uncomfortable, then it's probably true.
I agree.
I mean,
that's probably the truth.
Now, this newspaper also claimed that some of the members were like turning a blind eye to their mistakes. But I will say the club did end up in the immediate aftermath of the tragedy. They gave out 1,000 blankets to the relief effort. Robert,
good for them.
Okay, so Robert Pitcairn, Pitcairn. I don't know who he is, but
Pitcairn.
He is a club member. He actually served on relief committees. About half of the club members also contributed to the disaster relief effort, including Andrew Carnegie, whose company gave $10,000 and later helped rebuild the Johnstown's library, which actually today houses the Johnstown Flood Museum. However, this is all great. The problem I have is that not a single club member ever came forward and actually expressed a sense of like personal responsibility for this disaster. So no city, county, or state legislation was enacted to protect people from similar disasters in the future. So many lawsuits, of course, were filed against the members of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club. But of course, that's really hard to do, and of course, back then, the court viewed the dam break as an act of God.
Oh, there's the insurance. Goody.
And legal compensation was made to the survivors. What a fucking slap in the gosh darn face. Whoop-a-cha!
We could start with slap in the face with the fact that Andrew Carnegie's only going to cough up $10,000 first off and to rebuild the library. So he could probably fucking name it after himself. What a shithead. But then that doesn't surprise me in the least because, again, if you think that 1% that controls everything today, at least there is some legislation against these kind of things that protect us now. Back then, you were so fucked. If the rich wanted to hunt you for sport, then that's just what happened in 1889. You should
feel honored that they want to hunt you. Yeah,
exactly. Oh my God, Bethany, just go on. I'm disgusted.
Yeah, I have to open another beer. Give me a second while I open this beer because here we go. Okay. Okay. So the 1889 flood is not the only one that happened. Okay. So in fact, it happened twice more, 1936 and 1977. Pictures of these floods can actually be found. They're hung in the stairwell of the Johnstown Museum. I've seen pictures of this museum. It's actually incredibly well done. It's really pretty, which is weird for me to say about a museum.
No, I'm going to totally check it out.
With a historical tragedy. These pictures were taken by Meryl
Agnello.
Oh my God. Thank you. God, my mouth would not pronounce that. Okay. So he was actually a photographer for the Tribune Democrat is what it was called. They even show flood markers of the high water level for each of the floods. They can be seen on the exterior corner of the Johnstown City Hall. So they actually have, I was like, damn, that is cool. Well, as it can be for a tragedy. On March 17th, which is, just happened a few days ago, in 1936, the flood was actually caused by heavy runoff from melting snow and 3 days of heavy rain. So this was actually caused by natural
Yeah.
causes. Okay. So the water itself rose 14 feet in some areas. The body count for this was about 24 people. So about 24 people.
Not terrible.
77, not too bad. 77 buildings were destroyed. 3,000 were severely damaged. And the property damage were estimated to be about $41 million.
God damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
This particular flood actually became a catalyst for major federal support to rehabilitate Johnstown. The WPA, the Works Progress Administration,
Yep.
pulled every available man in a 4-county area. 7,000 men and 350 trucks actually set out to help dig the town out. After the wreckage was cleared, long-term public works programs began, like replacing sidewalks, road, and bridges. But this, of course, was just not enough. This was not enough help for the town.
Not only that, but just a little bit of, let's put some Jessica Pepper on it. This is in a depression era. So
right.
That's even freaking worse. I mean, that's why the WPA existed. They're trying to put people back to work. So God, $41 million in the middle of the depression.
Yeah.
God. These people can't catch a break.
No, they can't. So what the locals in the town did is that they flooded, they flooded the White House with 15,000 letters pleading, begging for more assistance in the recovery process. So good old President Franklin D. Roosevelt decided, hey, I'm going to go check this out and see it for myself. And that actually kind of like reminds me of what presidents do when there is a natural disaster. They actually get their butt on a plane and they go in and see the damage for themselves.
Exactly right. There's your precedent for it right there.
Yeah. So he then authorized the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to channelize the rivers through the town. This cost them about $8.7 million. Okay. The goal of the local flood protection program was to increase the capacity of the rivers to prevent future flooding.
Well, again, at this point, I'm glad to see that somebody is just trying to do something, to like spare these people from what continues to obviously be a fucking problem. But that's just me.
Right. So now, Jessica, I have another fun fact for you. This is actually going to be a really fun one. Okay, so it's about the so-called Johnstown flood tax. Okay, Do you know anything about it?
I do not.
Oh, goody! This is oh my God. I'm so excited. That I actually get to tell you something that you don't know about. Okay, I bet if I start talking, you're going to be like, oh, I do know this. Okay, so in the immediate aftermath of this 1936 flood, the Pennsylvania General Assembly passed a 10% tax on alcohol to assist in flood recovery efforts. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
This is a relevant bit of context that was in the immediate post-prohibition era. Right. So when many states were beginning to place taxes on alcohol. So the revenues collected were initially used to benefit flood victims and rebuild the town. But since the 1940s, the money has gone into general funds. The tax was extended several times before being made permanent in 1951 and was even increased twice in the 1960s. Various proposals to change the law have included going to like a per drink tax, using the funds to relive economic catastrophes or helping with city financing. But although the tax seems to come up frequently, to date, no proposed changes to the 1936 Johnstown flood tax have become law. So the somewhat misleading name persists.
I did not know this is what once you started speaking, yes, I am, but I did not know this is what precipitated that. Oh, Bethany, you have taught me something.
Yes. So what's really crazy about this particular flood, the 1936, not only was a lot of things that kind of changed for this town, but in this particular saying, the website that I went to, they actually took some letters that were from survivors of this flood, and they have done audio, and they've also, the audio versions are in the next flood. But the 1936, they helped, because I've seen the original letters on this, and it's very hard to read in certain places. So sometimes English doesn't make sense. But I'm going to sum it up for you. Most of the letters were actually from students that were in fact, the one story that stuck out to me is like, even in the pouring rain that morning, he got up and he trudged through it all the way to school. And they even went up to their like 4th story school balcony, and they watched the river that was right next to their schoolhouse just rise and rise and rise. And they weren't even dismissed, until 1:30 that afternoon. So they just dismissed the kids. And many say that the water was well up to their waist before they reached their home, or they had to actually like take shelter in strangers' houses. I mean, they had to stay at night due to these conditions. And to make matters worse, and this is how I read through several letters to make sure that this was not just a fluke or a false like accusation. Apparently, to make matters worse, after this flood, the alarm sounded. Now, this alarm was actually known to signal that the dam had broke. So, from 1889, that Lake Conomo South Hunting Club, the dam, that particular dam, the alarm sounded, alarming people, letting them know that the dam had broke. This caused a fucking panic. People that only had like a little bit of water in their houses, or didn't have any, like they were out of the flood zones. They talk about how they ran out of the house with no coat, nothing. They didn't grab anything. They just ran. Families were separated as they tried to race to higher ground. But guess what? It was a fucking false alarm.
Dear God.
Yeah, people they wrote in this that people fucking died of shock from this false alarm. A what?
What?
Fuck? How fucked up is that?
God, this place cannot catch a fucking break.
Nope.
God.
So,
we still got another flood to go.
We have one more flood too.
I can't. Yeah. Oh my God, Bethany.
Yeah. So this is the latter flood, and it was on July 20th, 1977. And this is when a line of severe thunderstorms stalled over Johnstown. Okay, so
great.
If we remember it in the beginning, the dam, it broke, and that caused some serious issues. Also, flooding can be caused from melting snow or heavy rains. So here we go with the heavy rain. So it says that it dropped as much as a foot of rain in some areas. So small streams like Solomon's Run, Sam's Run, they have them, that's what they call them, and Peggy's Run. Okay, that's the name.
I should make that joke. These poor people.
No. Right. Okay. So what these small streams, they carved new channels and smashed through expressways, apartments, factories, and homes. I don't know what an earthen water supply dam is.
It's a whole, we're gonna skip it. Just say it.
Okay. That collapsed. That collapsed at the Laurel Run Reservoir. And that was just one of the many failing dams. So the waters overflowed the channel system in Johnstown, and that was actually a place that was considered to have left the city flood free. And so later estimates were done by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and they said the water levels could have been as much as 11 feet higher if the channel system had never even been built.
Dude, take this as a sign to leave this place, people.
I was wondering you were going to say that.
My God, this is like living under a volcano at this point. Just enough. I can't. I can't do any more of this. My God.
I know.
That's the last one, right? There's not like a
Right.
1998 goddamn flood, right?
No.
Oh.
Last major flood, yes. And so the Red Cross Salvation Army, which had been established by this point, and other nonprofit agencies, the state and federal government, and private individuals rushed in to help.
No, good.
So on July 21st, President Jimmy Carter declared the worst hit counties a federal disaster area, which is good when you do that. So the National Guard and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers also helped. They arrived to help clean up. Now, the body count for this flood was 85 people, $300 million in property damage. Hundreds left homeless.
God.
They had to take shelter in churches, schools, fire halls, and even the dorms at the University of Pittsburgh. Now, they established trailer parks to accommodate the many that still remained homeless. And over the next year, the federal government spent some $200 million in the area, rebuilding damaged public facilities, lending funds, or giving grants to property owners for repairs and construction. This final flood really took a huge blow on the already increasingly fragile economy.
Oh, you think?
And and many firms that were damaged didn't reopen, or they moved out to the suburbs. There was a Bethlehem steel factory. The employment out there dropped by 4,000. The population from 1970 to 1980 dropped from 42,221 to 34,221, which is a 19.4% decline.
Okay, so some of the people got the frickin' message. Like,
yes, finally.
Fuck this place. Get out of this place.
Yes.
God.
Okay, so Jessica, I'm going to give you actually something that I don't think we've done before, but this is the total body count for this town. Okay, so of these 3 floods, the total body count is 2,318 people, we believe.
I was going to say that we know of.
That we know of, that's been reported, and $358 million in property damage.
That is fucking banana bonkers. God almighty. Stop living there. Everybody that lives there right now, move. Just move. I realize, again, we're not Fox News. I realize there are a number of complex factors that go into choosing where it is that one lives. But, like, piss on it. Nothing is this important. My God, somebody build a dam. Somebody build, I don't know, if all of Scotland can build a lock system, maybe we need to come up with something like that in this area. Holy shit.
Yeah. What's crazier to me about this whole story is that I hadn't even done really the research of it completely yet, but it was just the idea that I threw at you. So I told you about the idea that I had, and not even fucking later, the dam out in Brazil broke, and like so many people died, and there was so much damage done, and it really freaking freaked me out.
Maybe we're just like, if you think of the horrible idea, it will come. If you build it, he will come.
Will come.
God, that is, don't you put that on me. Like, don't
you put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah,
no.
No.
It just, okay, let's see. What have I learned from this?
What did you learn? Tell us what your historical takeaway is from this, Bethany.
Number 1, know the area you live in. You live in a flood zone by a water reservoir.
And let me tell you, your insurance on your homeowners will tell you if you have to get flood insurance. Think it's kind of like what we said about if you have to get fucking volcano insurance.
You're probably in the wrong place. Maybe don't.
Just maybe don't. What's your second? What's your other takeaways?
Don't always depend on the money-hungry high rollers to have your best interests at heart.
And if that isn't the damn truth, if that isn't the God's honest truth, America. The government does not care about you. Rich people do not care about you. I don't give a shit who it is.
Unless you die. And then we start caring.
You die, and they can get some speaking time on national news about how tragic your death was. That is all. Any politician, and I don't care who that politician is. I don't care where you lie on the political spectrum. No one understands. Not a single rich person or a politician gives a shit if you live or die. That's our takeaway from this today.
And end of story. Point made. Point blank.
Point made. We're done. You know what, Bethany?
Mic drop.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good job. I really enjoyed having the places switched. For one thing, sometimes I like to hear a good yarn. And I don't get to very often.
Good yarn. Are you freaking 80?
Bethany.
What?
I think that both us and the audience in general know at this point that I may be an old millennial, but I was basically born a baby boomer. Like, we all know this at any point. At any given point when you call me and you're like, what are you watching? Oh my God, have you checked out the new episode of Riverdale? I'm like, oh, no, because I'm watching MASH.
MASH, I know.
What'd you do today? Well, I went through about 15 episodes of I Love Lucy, so there's that. I was just writing about people dying in history and watching I Love Lucy, because you gotta break it up somehow.
Living my best life. Living my best life.
Living my best life, sitting around in my podcast robe watching I Love Lucy. Dear God, that was horrific, but good job. I enjoyed that. We're gonna do this in the future again. I liked it. Sweet. I like having a story told to me. Most people that correct me in a day are generally semi-geniuses, and it's usually very, very harsh when a story is told at me. So it's good to just have a yarn spun at me every once in a while, to just have a tale told. We're talkists, we're storytellers. And I like having a story told to me, Bethany. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I hope our viewers enjoyed it. I think they're really going to.
I hope so too.
Our viewers, our fucking listeners. God almighty.
Same thing.
We've had some day beers for this one, if you can't tell.
Probably not, since they can't see the actual day of time of recording.
Probably not, but I'm going to assume they know we've had some day beers when they get to the point where I'm talking about, coffin guess who. It's going to become apparent.
Do they have freckles?
I just have to tell our audience that this is how we have to deal with this, because it is so dark all the time. If we don't almost compartmentalize it that way in our brains, we would go absolutely insane bringing you this stuff, because it is
insane
horrific.
In the membrane.
Horrific. Oh. All right, we're running a little long today. Normally we would do our great big fat fantastic what the hell do we call it? Counterculture.
Culture.
Really quickly, the only thing I'm going to put a plug in for is because they earned it from Patreon. Thank you so much, Despair and Distress, guys. It's an absolutely fantastic podcast that we highly recommend you go and listen to. It's so much fun. If you really want to, if we disturb you, they're going to do it to the nth degree. If you like being disturbed, please go and check them out. It is a lot of fun. Oh, God, so much fun. On that note, Patreon is up and running, guys. Please do check it out. $1 a month. You get to have lots of fun with us. We've got some really big announcements coming up in the future. We're not going to drop anything about it now because I'm lazy, and when we get told, officially that we can do that, we're going to do that. If you love the show, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Body Count Pod and Body Count Pod on Facebook. Bethany, why the hell am I doing this? Host?
I'm used to it. Like, you know your shit. I just let you do it.
Right. I just open and close this freaking show in my sleep.
Yeah, you
do. Like, I really do. I just snooze through it. I apologize, guys. I could bring a little more fervor to it. Bethany, where do people find you at on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Bethany Skelton 5, the number 5. Bethany RN24 on Instagram. So come check me out. Like my stuff. Like the show.
I want to start calling you BS Cinco.
What?
Bethany Skelton 5 on Twitter. Just call you BS Cinco.
BS Cinco. I like it.
I do too.
I do. It's awesome.
Now, the important part. The part you've all been waiting for.
Yes.
Where do you find me on social media?
You can find Jessica Manor at... Actually, it's like, is it JB Manor?
JB Manor at JB Manor on Twitter and Instagram. I am not on Facebook because, quite frankly, I would just rather die. So, everybody always, oh my God, where do I find you on Facebook? You don't, because I would rather die. It's bad enough being on Instagram. But, guys, I do live Instagram. Ugh. Fucking Instagram. It is the bane of my existence. The only thing I can think of worse would be Facebook. But I do live on Twitter, so you guys, I'm very, very active there. You can always follow me, find me, ask me stupid questions from history. I'm always game.
Yes.
Almost always game.
Almost always game.
If you ask me a question, though, that can't be answered in 240 characters, know that I am going to ignore you. If you ask something so open-ended that I am going to have to write a 15-page paper, I'm not going to answer you. Go and fuck yourself. I'm sure I'll do an episode on it eventually. But I'm not going to answer that. So do keep it limited to a 240 character fucking answer. Preferably yes or no.
Check yes or no.
Oh, and I'm going back to Texas soon. So country music is already rattling through my head. Goody.
Amarillo skies.
No, I wasn't thinking. I was thinking more Amarillo by morning, but
Amarillo by morning.
You know, it is what it is. I'm certainly not coming up from San Antonio. Let me put it that way. I'll be coming over from the Memphis way on across to good old Miami, Texas before I hit Amarillo. So,
howdy ho,
neighbors. Yee fucking ha. All right, that does it for us this week. Bethany, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like I learned a lot. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It was a fun experience.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to totes do it again in future.
Yeah. Yes, because I really, really want to do the topic I've talked to you about, which I don't think you're on board, but I'm totally going to make it.
No, I'm 110.
Okay.
I'm 110%
I'm not going to spoil it.
You're going to do it, though.
Okay, yeah. Don't spoil it.
You're going to do it, though. Okay, all right, fine. We're not going to spoil it.
Okay. No,
it's going to be fantastic. Let me put it that way.
I'm excited.
Oh, dear God. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Let's call it good.
As you should always do.
Before we get too much more into day drinking, guys. It's been real. It's been fun. And we will, as always, literally talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.